The garage was too quiet. Not the normal kind of quiet you get late at night when mechanics finally head home. This was different. The fluorescent lights still hummed. Tools were still scattered across workbenches. A laptop sat open beside a half-drunk cup of coffee that had long gone cold. But the engine was gone. Just hours before the biggest race of the season, someone had removed the heart of the car. No announcement. No explanation. And the strangest part? Most of the team didn't even know it had happened. The driver arrived that morning expecting the same machine he had been fighting with for months. The same roaring monster that had pushed them through qualifying. The same engine that had nearly torn itself apart during testing just weeks earlier. Instead, something else was sitting under the hood. It looked the same. It sounded the same. But it wasn't the same. And by the time the green flag dropped, the decision had already sealed the fate of an entire racing program. Because this wasn't just about an engine. It was about pride. Millions of dollars. And a secret someone inside the garage was desperate to keep hidden. To understand why an engine would disappear hours before a championship race, you have to rewind to a season that started with enormous expectations. A few months earlier, the team had unveiled what they believed would be their competitive advantage. A new power plant, built quietly, developed behind closed doors, and funded by one of the biggest automotive manufacturers in America. The company had already poured more than $40 million into the project. This wasn't just a racing experiment. It was a statement. In American motorsport culture, engines are more than machinery. They're identity, brand reputation, proof of engineering dominance. When fans argue in the stands about horsepower, they're not just debating numbers. They're defending legacy. And this engine was supposed to restore one. The company behind the program had spent years being overshadowed by rivals. Their competitors were winning championships, collecting trophies, dominating headlines. Meanwhile, they were stuck explaining losses to executives and shareholders. Something had to change. So they hired new engineers, new leadership, and quietly approved the development of an entirely new racing engine. The goal was simple. Win. Win big. Win in a way that forced every rival team to start asking questions. At first, everything looked promising. During early dyno testing, the engine produced numbers that stunned the development crew. Mechanics who had been in the sport for 20 years started whispering the same thing. This thing's different. It wasn't just powerful. It was aggressive, violent, even. The throttle response was instant. The power delivery brutal. Drivers described it like flipping a switch between calm and chaos. Exactly what you want in a race car. But early success has a dangerous side. Because numbers on a test bench don't tell the whole story. And once the engine made its way onto the track, cracks started appearing. The first warning came during a private test session in Arizona. The car had only completed a handful of laps when smoke began pouring from the rear. By the time the driver pulled into the pits, flames were licking the underside of the engine bay. The mechanics rushed over with extinguishers. The driver climbed out, helmet still on, shaking his head. What the hell was that? At first, engineers blamed a simple component failure. Something small, something replaceable. But the second incident happened just 2 weeks later. Different track, different driver. Same result. The engine didn't just fail. It detonated. Metal fragments scattered across the track. Oil coated the racing line. The driver barely kept the car out of the wall. Inside the garage that night, the mood shifted. The excitement was gone. Now there were questions. Lots of them. Engineers pored over telemetry data late into the night. Temperatures, pressure readings, vibration patterns. Something inside the engine was pushing beyond safe limits. But nobody could agree on what. Some argued the design was simply too aggressive. Others insisted the issues were manufacturing defects. A few whispered something much worse, that the engine had been rushed. Because behind the scenes, corporate pressure was building. Executives wanted results. The company had already spent tens of millions on the project. Marketing campaigns were prepared. Sponsorship deals were tied to performance bonuses. Failure wasn't just embarrassing. It was expensive, very expensive. So instead of slowing down development, they doubled down. More testing, more modifications, more late nights in the garage. The team managed to get the engine stable enough to begin racing. But stability didn't mean reliability. The first race weekend started with optimism. The car qualified well. Fans were excited. Commentators talked about the new engine like it was a sleeping giant. But halfway through the race, it failed again. The driver coasted back to pit lane in silence. No smoke, no explosion, just a dead engine. The crew tried restarting it. Nothing. The hood came off. Mechanics stared into the engine bay, and one of them muttered something that would echo through the rest of the season. This thing's a ticking time bomb. Over the next several races, the pattern continued. Sometimes the engine was brilliant, blisteringly fast. Other times it behaved like it was seconds away from self-destruction. Drivers started losing confidence. One of them reportedly told a crew chief, "I feel like I'm racing a grenade." Behind closed doors, arguments erupted between engineers and management. One group wanted to redesign key components. Another group insisted there wasn't enough time. Because the championship race was approaching. The finals, the biggest stage of the entire season. Millions of viewers, massive sponsor exposure, and a chance to prove the engine program had been worth every dollar. But weeks before the event, something alarming happened during a final simulation test. The engine didn't fail. It didn't explode. It did something worse. It locked up completely at high speed. Instantly. No warning. The driver had been traveling over 180 miles per hour. When the engine seized, the rear wheels locked. The car spun violently. By sheer luck, it avoided a catastrophic crash. When engineers examined the engine afterward, the room went quiet. Because the internal damage revealed something terrifying. The failure wasn't random. It was inevitable. Under certain race conditions, the engine would destroy itself. Not maybe, not possibly, eventually. And the finals race, with its long, sustained high-speed sections, was exactly the environment that could trigger it. Inside the corporate offices hundreds of miles away, executives were presented with two options: withdraw the car, or risk it. Pulling out would be humiliating. Sponsors would be furious. Fans would ask questions. But running the engine meant something far worse could happen. A catastrophic failure during the most watched race of the year, potentially with cameras rolling. And that's when someone inside the racing program proposed an unthinkable solution. Swap the engine. Quietly. Replace it with the older, proven design from the previous season. Same mounting points. Same external appearance. Different internals. To most people, the car would look identical. But technically, it wouldn't be the new engine at all. At first, management resisted. The entire season had been built around showcasing the new technology. Admitting defeat before the finals would be devastating. But engineers kept repeating the same message. If this thing fails on race day, it won't just be embarrassing. It'll be dangerous. Late the night before the finals, a decision was made. No press release. No public announcement. Just a quiet order passed through the garage. Pull the engine. And don't tell anyone outside the core team. So while the racing world slept, mechanics got to work. They removed the experimental engine that had cost millions to develop. The same engine that marketing departments had spent months hyping. The same engine fans believed would dominate the finals. Piece by piece, it disappeared from the car. By sunrise, the replacement was installed. Even some crew members didn't realize the swap had happened. From the outside, everything looked normal. The driver arrived, strapped into the cockpit, and rolled onto the grid. The race began under roaring crowds and television cameras. And something strange happened. The car ran flawlessly, lap after lap. No smoke, no strange noises, no fear in the driver's voice over the radio. For the first time all season, the machine felt predictable, stable, safe. The team finished the race with one of their strongest results of the year. Fans celebrated. Commentators praised the new engine's performance. Sponsors were thrilled. But inside the garage, nobody was celebrating. Because they all knew the truth. The engine everyone believed had just proven itself. Hadn't even been in the car. The real engine, the one meant to define the future of the program, was sitting quietly in a crate back at headquarters. Never raced again. The company never officially admitted the swap. Publicly, the engine program simply evolved the following season. New revisions, new improvements, new marketing language. But insiders say the original design was quietly shelved. Too dangerous, too unpredictable, too risky for the reputation of a brand built on performance. And yet, years later, rumors still circulate among engineers and former crew members. Some say the engine's fatal flaw was never fully understood. Others claim executives ordered the design buried to avoid legal questions. And one former mechanic reportedly said something even stranger. He claimed the engine wasn't actually destroyed. that it was stored, locked away in a private facility along with the original test data, because someone high up in the company believed the design wasn't a failure, just unfinished, which raises an uncomfortable question. If the engine really was as powerful as early tests suggested, and if someone still believes it could work, then why was it secretly removed just hours before the biggest race of the season? And more importantly, where is it now?